So, recently IGN released a video called IGN in Conversation with Dan Houser at LA Comic-Con 2025. To add some very important context, Dan Houser is one of the co-founders of Rockstar Games, the studio responsible for games such as Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. Dan left Rockstar back in 2020 following the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. What makes this so significant is that Dan doesn't really do appearances. He founded Rockstar with his brother Sam way back in 1998, and the two rarely make public appearances. There's even a video on YouTube that has all their camera appearances combined, and it doesn't even pass 20 minutes. And a third of the footage is super grainy, only adding to the two's mysterious aura. After leaving, Dan started a multimedia company called Absurd Ventures, and one of his first public appearances since leaving Rockstar is an interview with IGN at LA Comic-Con. Now, for a nerd like me personally, I absolutely love hearing devs talk about the games they've made, their favorite parts of the games they've made, or what they would have done differently. It's cool to learn new things about something you're passionate about straight from the source. Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City were massive parts of my childhood, and if given the opportunity, I'd have pages of questions longer than GTA 5's script to ask this man. I assume IGN also had a list, but it was just one question phrased 20 different ways. Also, why is this video nearly an hour and a half long? This is nothing short of deceitful. IGN has been around the block a few times. They knew exactly what they were doing when they didn't edit out the first hour of this video, which is just a still image of Dan's face staring into my soul. Dan, blink twice if you know anything about Bully 2.
Give me all the details.
The interview is actually around 15 minutes, and this isn't really a new thing, especially for high-profile names at conventions to only be available for a little bit. I don't doubt that Dan is a very busy guy. I think the main reason he was there was actually to promote his new book, A Better Paradise, and his comic series, American Caper. But now that I've talked about IGN's shortcomings, I gotta say, it wasn't a terrible interview. They start off talking about GTA 6, of course, and Dan discusses how content he is with not being involved at all.
I mean, I think it's a great privilege to have worked on something that big. And I wrote the last 10 or 11 of them. So I think the world's probably had enough GTA from me. I think it's, they're always a new story, so it's not going to be a story that I wrote or a character set that I developed. I think it's going to be exciting. The game will be great, I'm sure.
He briefly talks about the freedom he had creatively, saying Take-Two was never all that involved, but he always put pressure on himself to make something great. He gets asked about his personal favorite Rockstar game, and he goes on to say that he believes Red Dead Redemption 2 is the greatest thing he's ever worked on.
Does one GTA or Red Dead, or just really any of the Rockstar games, because you've touched them all over the years, do any stand out as a personal favorite for you over the years?
Of course. Red Dead 2, I think, was
still being played to this day.
The best thing that I worked on, the best single kind of realization of sort of open world storytelling, thematic consistency, and understanding how the games are assembled to take you on an emotional journey.
You're not gonna believe this, Dan, but we all think it's the best thing you've ever worked on too. Red Dead 2 goes above and beyond what open world storytelling actually means, so it feels so good for him to answer the question in this way. He also answered GTA 4, the middle section of GTA 5, specifically the middle, and the end of Red Dead 1.
In some ways, Red Dead 1, GTA 3, and Bully, because they were all essentially new or nearly new IP, doing that for the first time and assembling something strong, that's really a gratifying experience that I'm trying to take into what we're doing now.
Dan brings up Bully, which prompts the moderator to ask why Bully 2 never happened, and he basically says the team just wasn't big enough.
Why did we never get a sequel to Bully?
I think there was just bandwidth issues. If you've got a small lead creative team and a small senior leadership crew, you just can't do all the projects you want.
Which sucks, but I guess it's kind of gratifying to know it was almost a reality. He talks about his new company, Absurd Ventures, that I mentioned earlier, and his American Caper comic series.
What inspired the idea for American Caper?
I don't know if it's darker than Trevor, but it's from GTA 5,
yeah.
But it's heading in that direction. I love doing, obviously, crime comedy, and didn't want to do, having done lots of stories about carjackers or people who had to be tough and be carjackers and living in this moment right now, wanted to tell a story about some degenerate criminals from a completely different perspective and a completely different part of the world that you could never make a GTA game in.
Yeah.
I may just have to get these and read them out loud on stream or something. The interview closes with Dan revealing that Absurd Ventures isn't just working on one, but 2 new games.
We've got 2 games in development. One is in our comedy world, which we're calling the Absurdiverse, and it's going to be an open world third-person comedy. And the other is set in our other universe, which is called A Better Paradise, and it's going to be a third-person dystopian tragedy.
I also love the little smile Dan gets when he starts talking about his upcoming work. He comes across as such a genuine guy who just loves creating things. He even stated, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he made Red Dead 2 as a counter to GTA 5's success, saying he had to make something even more special. The full interview is pretty insightful and informative and is so worth a listen. I hope Dan continues to do stuff like this and hopefully his brother follows in his footsteps soon. Also, for those who want more like me, I'm being told that at the recording of this video, from the information I've gathered, that Dan is scheduled to do a multi-hour podcast with Lex Friedman, who I didn't know before this video, and after doing 30 seconds of research, still don't. No disrespect, I only listen to one podcast and it's about wrestling, so that should tell you everything you need to know. I couldn't find one credible piece of evidence from the actual parties involved that backed this up, but should Dan make another appearance on said podcast, I'd love to do a follow-up video on all the new lore that's going to drop. Links down in the description below to the Absurd Ventures website and the interview itself by IGN. Also, I can't believe we got a Dan Houser interview before GTA 6.